I know it could have been longer. It could have been longer. I mean, that's like, I've been finding that's been happening to me a lot lately, where whenever my sense of time is skewed, and I feel totally normal, but it's great. And then it's just good. Mom, good. Are you making any trips to see the family, or are you guys going? Well, I would say that I think more American. She was just there. You got it. What is the weather there at this point of the year? It must be very nice. I think it's nicer than this. It's nicer than this, yeah, that's for sure. Also, just apologies to everybody. Not quite sure if the heat isn't working or just not working properly. So if you feel a little bit cold, it's not you. This is one of those rare times where I can tell you for sure it is not you. So if you feel more comfortable putting a coat on, whatever you need to do, just, I don't think, I guess basically what I'm saying is I don't imagine it's going to get much warmer in here as the evening progresses. So yeah, and then we'll hopefully have that figured out by next week. But we'll consider this our true Thanksgiving, right? It is not 20 degrees. That is true. But this will become something more of a concern in a few weeks if we don't get this figured out. So I will do my very best on that. But otherwise, just make yourselves comfortable. We'll get started in just a few. Oh yeah. So we're doing congregants candlelighting again, which we have not done in a long time. So Linda, you did last week. Does anybody want to light candles tonight? There's no obligation. Yeah, yes, yeah. Getting a lot of shrugs. We're not gonna make Nikki do it because she's visiting. Okay, think about it. We got about a minute to figure it out. Otherwise, I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, I think that's makes it easier. Yeah, exactly. I just need to find.
Okay, so did we get any? Nobody? Okay. You just want to hear my melodious voice. I understand. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay. So how was everybody's Thanksgiving? Good. It was great. It was great. It still continues, right? Thanksgiving is really a week-long holiday in every conceivable way, I think. So, right. So that's the reward after services tonight. Will probably be some pie of some sort. What was the best thing anybody ate? Best thing. Come on, Strasser household. I feel like there's got to be at least 50 things that were delicious. What? Okay. Yes, that'll be. Well, you had a good time. That's the most important piece. Yes, exactly right. That's how we extend it out. That's for sure. And we won't talk about the Giants game. That's right. Kevin's not going to bring it up, which is nice. Very considerate. I won't bring up any Broncos games either, so it goes in both directions, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
At least you guys have a winning record.
Yes, we do. We're trying our best to change that reality, but, at least we're trying, I suppose. Okay, so we're going to get started with our service for this evening, and since we don't have any volunteers for candlelighting, I will take that upon myself. We're on page 120, again, page 120 in our prayer books. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We'll turn now to page 130 as we begin Kabbalat Shabbat together at the very top of the page.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria letzori sheinu, nekadma fana betodah. Naria letzori sheinu, bizmirot naria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai.
We'll turn now to page 131, Shiru Ladonai, and page 131.
שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, תסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, תסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, תסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, תסרו מיום ליום ישועתו.
We'll turn now to page 132, or Zarua, which is the last paragraph in Hebrew at the bottom of the page.
Or Zarua, לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה. ולישרי לב שמחה. אור זרוע לצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה. ולישרי לב שמחה. יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי יאי לי יאי לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי לי.
We'll turn now to page 134, Zamru Ladonai, again page 134.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור בכל זמרה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות תמחאו כף יחד, הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני קיווה, לשפוט הארץ, לשפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במישרים. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות תמחאו כף יחד, הרים ירננו.
We'll turn now to page 138, L'chadodim, and we'll do the first, second, fifth, and ninth paragraphs. And for the final paragraph, we'll rise if we're in the room and face towards the rear of the room. Again, page 138. 138.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה בראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי ואורך קומי אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא ולה.
Please be seated. We're now on page 140, Tzadik Katamar, which is just where the Hebrew indents in the middle of the page.
Tzadik Katamar Yifrach Ke'erez ba'Lebanon Yizkeh Sheturim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva B'Sheinim Beranim Yiyu Lehagir Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Velo Avlatabo.
We'll turn now to page 144, and we'll rise in body or spirit for the Chatzi Kaddish, again, page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'almad yivrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei lechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kariv veimeru. Amen. Yeheshme Rabba mevarach le'alam li'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru.
Amen.
Remain standing for the Baruch Hu on page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. Let's read together in English on the bottom of page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Umahavir yom umevi laila, umavdihil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzavahot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Amahari v'aravi. Let's turn to page 151. We'll read together in English at the top of the page. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead
Lead
me into the mystery.
mystery.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, והם נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
אוהב עמו ישראל. Turn to page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Let's turn to page 157 and we'll read responsively at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
We'll turn to page 158, Mi Chamocha, at the very top of the page.
בקודש, נורא תהילות תוסיף אלה, נורא תהילות תוסיף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה, זה עליינו ואמרו, זה עליינו ואמרו, אדוני לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We'll turn now to page 160, Hashkivenu, at the very top of the page.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Ushmor Tzeiteinu Uloheinu L'chaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Yerushalayim. We turn now to Vishamru on the top of page 162. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorota berit olam einai beini Ubein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat, Shabbat vayinafash. Invite us now to rise in body or spirit. We'll begin the Amidah together on page 164 and then continue silently from there. As always, please go at your own pace, and when you're finished, if you're standing at the end, you may be seated. Adonai sefatai diftach ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Say shalom, shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimrama. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel
We'll turn now to page 371 to offer our Mishaberach, our healing prayer for this evening. And in a moment, I'll read, of course, our list and give an opportunity for added names. But this week, in addition to our celebration and all of the wonderful things of Thanksgiving, we really have experienced across the country several horrific further events of gun violence, and violence in particular against the LGBTQ community in Colorado Springs. And so it's important for us when we pray, especially when we pray the Mishaberach, we pray for those that are most directly connected to us, but we find a place as well to pray for the healing of the individuals affected, the families affected, and also to pray for the healing of our country and this world that allows for such things to take place. So we'll put all of our energies and all of our hopes and all of our really, truly our prayers into our Mishaberach this evening. Before we do that, though, we want to think in our community of Bentzi Tepper, Allison Luckman, Malka Bat Chaya Sura, Michael Klinghoffer, Amy Cass, Steve Levine, Rivka Bat Rachel, Leah Bat Naomi, Gedalia Ben Sylvia, Lorraine Danis, David Dowling, Sivia Devora Bat Francis, Muriel Hirsch, Michelle Sawicki, Francis Kirschman, Shelley Newmark, Diane Axelrod, Gabriella Rose Spicer, Barbara Kushner, David Kyle Klotman, Lorraine Davis, Talia Pomeroy, Michael Ben Chananya, Devora Batsima, Rebecca Lila Snyder, Jeffrey Miller, Shelley Lyman, Deborah Block-Kroll, Sylvia Orn, Stanley Rappaport, Karen Layton, Harold Goldban, Celia Paul and Steve Rosen, Carol Yavana, and Lori Nissanov. In addition to the names that I just read aloud, if there's any that want to be added from our guests and our friends who are here with us in the room, we'll start on this side of the room and work towards the back, and then to this side of the room. And of course, we'll invite those watching at home to share names as well. We'll join together with Cantor Kevin on page 371 in the middle of the page.
Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So we're going to give Cantor Kevin a second to get his guitar placed and that little thing turned off. Got that there. So thinking about this idea of gratitude, of thanks, this amorphous concept that we have, I was thinking about it a lot this week and realizing that we have an incredible thing to be grateful for in our community, and we've had for many years, which is the voices of the cantors, the student cantors who have been a part of our community, Kevin being our most recent and really becoming very quickly an important part of our community, of our prayer and of our thinking about prayer. And I think, one of the things we take for granted in general is the idea that we should be grateful, that we should be thankful, and that in fact we should be doing it on a regular basis, so regular in fact it should be done every day, blessings of Thanksgiving every single day, and in fact not just every single day, but in the most meaningful and most important parts of our services. So Cantor Kevin has been kind enough to prepare something for us tonight, which is going to take the idea, but is musically going to take us to a place that we probably would not necessarily expect. And then I'll stop talking, and I'll just say one thing that I know that Cantor Kevin is grateful for, is that his wonderful girlfriend Nikki is here, all the way from Australia, flying what felt like 600 hours across the entire world to be here. So everybody wave to Nikki and say welcome to you as well. And we're very grateful that you are here, for 3 solid months. So we're going to get to see you more, I know, which is really nice. So Cantor, the bima is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to really bring something that was connecting to tradition. On Sunday, I had the Rossi concert, which is the first Jewish composer that we have written music of, and listening to that music really, it's from the late 1500s that really got me to thinking about connecting to tradition. And so I wanted to offer up a piece of Chazanut, of another part of the Jewish music tradition that is still very much being taught, but isn't being heard as much as it once was. It was definitely an art form that really peaked in the 30s and 40s, but slowly kind of dwindled. And then with the emergence of folk music, really, that's when the guitar became introduced on the bima, it slowly started dwindling. But the music is still very alive and well, and there's such a deep connection and a deep-seated understanding of the words and true feeling of what's going on. And even here in the second part of this piece, there's one big moment where we stop with this kind of modal feel, and we feel like maybe we've kind of landed in a certain place, and that's really this moment of ki tov, of how the goodness and being thankful. So we will hear Jacob Rappaport's Modim Anachnu Lach. Modim anachnu lach she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avoteinu le'olam avad le'olam avad tzur chayenu le'olam avad Magen yishenu atahu Lidor vador nodelecha lidor vador lidor vador nodelecha nun isaper nun isaper ונספר תהילתך על חיינו המסורים בידך ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו נפלאותיך ותורתך שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים ערב ובוקר וצהריים הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך מעולם קיווינו לך.
I know, you feel like you want to applaud, for that. So I wanted to take a minute, since we had this opportunity, to ask Kevin. So the piece of music that you just did for us, this was something that was taught to you at school or something that you found on your own?
A little bit of both, really. I asked the late cantor Izzy Goldstein, Zichrono Livracha, one of the previous directors of the cantorial school at HUC, for a few pieces of chazanut that I wouldn't normally get to hear or get to sing in my few months of working with him. And this is one of the pieces he pulled out that you said you should probably learn this. And there were a few other composers that I got to learn, a little bit of Ganshoff and someone else whose name is currently not coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just really had a deep connection to this piece specifically. And it's really also just a pleasure to get to share it, because you're not going to hear that very frequently in a congregation nowadays.
Yeah, I would say that's probably being very generous. My guess is that may have been the first time that it's been heard in a very long time in a context like this. And for those that may not know, the prayer that Cantor Kevin just chanted, Modeh Ani Lefanecha, is the first prayer of our service tomorrow morning. And it's conceived of really actually originally as the first thing you're supposed to say the moment that your eyes open in the morning. So it's conceivably, again, part of our sort of ethos as Jews is this idea, no matter how you went to sleep or no matter what's in front of you during the day, the first thing on your mind when you wake up should be that of gratitude. But obviously that prayer originally conceived of, is one that conceivably was one that was very personal, right? Only meant to be uttered by the person in their home, not even in the synagogue. And then to see this, what is otherwise a fairly humble kind of text, and then elevated musically in that way, I can understand why he chose this as one of the ones for you. So I'll ask you a bigger sort of existential kind of question. Do you see a place for this kind of chazanut re-emerging or finding its way back into our services in any conceivable kind of way? And if so, how would you, envision? What would be a first step, I guess?
I think this is very funny because I think this is the most HUC answer, if there ever was one, which is just like that.
Very good.
So frequently in the practica on Wednesdays, or the performances that all the cantorial students give, they ask the question after they've given just something that they wouldn't normally use in a congregation. They'd say, how would you include it? Well, what would you do? Like, is there any way you could use it? And it's very funny because the given answer almost every single time is, well, you frame it like the way you just did. You just presented it for us in a way that would be digestible to a Reform audience. And I think it's giving a little bit of a teaching about its history. You have to place it in context, and then I think it's a lot more digestible to really any audience. So,
well, I certainly learned a lot tonight. I hope all of you guys did as well. And remind us again the composer's name.
Jacob Rappaport.
Okay, so we'll all remember Jacob Rappaport, and for those that want to do further learning, you can certainly reach out to Cantor Kevin. I know this is something that is of importance to him, and I think importance to all of us. Our musical traditions understandably change with time, and they also change with location. They change depending on where we've lived throughout the world and what the sort of, zeitgeist is of the time. And I think that's one of the beauties of studying and really learning the depth and the breadth of our sacred music and the way that Cantor Kevin and so many of our previous student cantors do, is because exactly that is correct, right? There is a history, there is a context, there is a purpose, there was an intention at some point in history. And while it may not necessarily be that our whole service is going to return to chazanut, nor necessarily should it, I think one of our challenges always is how do we maintain a certain awareness of that which came before, with a certain appreciation for that which is current and that which meets with the needs of a particular generation. And I think it's a unique challenge and also a unique opportunity, of which we're really grateful tonight, Cantor Kevin, for bringing that to us and giving us that very different perspective. I don't imagine we're waking up tomorrow and singing that at the beginning of our service, but who knows?
I'm not singing that
with
in the
time,
morning.
you never know. You never know. So with that, I'll invite all of us to rise in body or spirit as we turn to page 586 at the very bottom of the page. 586 again at the bottom of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Ask those in mourning, those observing yahrzeit, to please remain standing. Everyone else may be seated at this time. We think first of those who've passed in our community in recent months. Martin Blake, Lynn Cowan, Faith Diskin, Arlene Eber, Jay Fagan, Chaim Bear Greenwald, Sandy Greenwald, Mark Joseph, Jane Beard Cass, Gertrude Katz, Buddy Kossoff, Helene Krotman, Emmanuel Kiprios, David Lieberman, Sandra Luongo, Norma Polsek, Lillian Schwartz, David Sent, Anita Sheldon, Alan Silver, Sandy Slip, Larry Wartor, Peter Weinstein, Rita Weitzman, Matthew Adam Zimmerman, and Yael Zordar. We also mark the yahrzeits that occurred during the last week for Ronald Appel, Hank Coleman, Jules Danto, Leonard Fichtelberg, Sarah Friedman, Julius Goldfarb, William Hearn, Abraham Horowitz, Raphael Kirschner, Frida Rubin, Jules Schneider, Fanny Silverberg, Abraham Soroka, Miriam Weinfeld, Ann Weiss, and Milton Wiener. In addition to the names that we just read, if anyone has any other names to share. And we'll invite those in the room, if you so choose, to rise in body or in spirit, and invite the mourners to join with me on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'b'yomechon u'b'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'li'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shalama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Zichronam livracha, may every one of their memories be for a blessing. Okay, please be seated, and Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Again,
Shalom.
Yasher Koach, Cantor Kevin, beautifully done, beautifully done. And again, welcome, Nikki, we're very happy to have you. And another special person to me, my father, Peter, who's here. We thank you for being here. You can wave to everybody. Saba, would you be interested in maybe doing Kiddush, our melody Kiddush at the end? Okay, so the answer is yes. The answer is yes. That's good. So we'll do that in a second. I don't have my announcements sheet this evening. Unfortunately, Eileen was feeling under the weather, and so I'm going to do it mostly from my memory. The most important, of course, is to join us for services tomorrow morning, beginning at 9:30. If you don't want to join us here in person at the Whalers Church, you can join us on Zoom, Facebook, website, YouTube, as well as to join us for Torah study beginning at 12 o'clock on Zoom as well. Do note, coming up this week, Monday should be regular schedule, so Nina Mitzvah at 11:30, Mahashal class at 12, Hebrew school at 3 o'clock. I believe Social Justice Committee will have its meeting at 5 o'clock on Zoom as well. And then there is a post-B'nai Mitzvah class on Monday as well. And then Wednesday should be, again, normal day, Hebrew school beginning at 3:30. Thursday evening will be the next in our series of science and synagogues, or science and synagogues in Sag Harbor, I think is what we're calling it. And this will be a conversation between myself and our Hebrew School Director Emeritus Leah Oppenheimer, who has spent a considerable amount of her life in the field of education, and particularly working with very young people, and in most recent years working with her connection to the Children's Museum here on the East End, and in particular with the Latinx community and some of the unique both opportunities and challenges that are faced in the educational world, both here in a local sense, but also sort of more broadly. So the question, of course, when talking about education is how is that scientific, right? How do we think of science and education as related to each other? And it is a little bit trickier than some of the other more obvious paths, right? When we talk to Dr. Auerbach and we were talking about genetics, it's not hard to stretch our imagination to understand. But the field of education, as has been for a long time, is tied very much to the field of psychology, is to understand how it is we develop as human beings, both cognitively speaking and also emotionally speaking, and how a number of the main thinkers and ideas that have led to the pedagogic work of the last century some are coming into some amount of question as to whether or not some of the assumed expectations, assumed science that has driven a lot of the policy that determines what we refer to as education, especially in this country, whether some of that data, some of that perspective, some of that science falls into a category sometimes of bias, and where that bias can then affect, and as I said, become policy, and that policy trickle down and affect actual individuals that we may know and may be in our community. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about Torah and how Torah conceives of parent-child relationships, raising children, education as a broader sense. Somehow or another, we're going to cover all of this in an hour or so, and we'll welcome questions as we hope. So join us again on Zoom only on Thursday at 7 o'clock, if memory serves me correctly. And then Shabbat services again next week. And then, of course, Hanukkah coming up, and a lot of other details you'll be getting in our December calendar and related programs. But that's the best I have off the top of my head. Cantor Kevin, anything on your end that we should know about?
I'm good.
Okay. We'll just give an update on the building, because I like giving updates on the building. Every week, believe it or not, more and more progress. I'm going on Sunday And I'm told that walls have in fact started to go up on the inside, which is great. And you know, we're getting there, everybody. We're getting there slowly, slowly, le'at le'at, as they say in Hebrew, but we will get there, I promise. So I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. And Abba, if you would join us up on the Bima, we're going to be on page 123. Also, just a reminder, if you're with us in the room, when you leave, if you could bring your prayer books back to Josie on your way out, and she'll trade them to you for a challah. Yes, and ragla, and all those good things.
It's a good trade. Good other one.
Okay, so we're on page, in our case, right, Sabi, you're going to do our melody, yeah? All right, I'll meet you on, yeah, do our melody. A little different. All right, well, we're talking about different melodies, different kinds of things. We'll start on page 122 and then go from there. Now, just remember, you know, this is calibrated for me, less for you, so you probably don't have to boom too much, or I could do it. Walk back. Okay, page 122.
In this large crowd, can I just add one thing?
Of course you can. Who am I to say no?
So, we had a bat mitzvah in the family,
Oh, I told him all about it.
okay? But that was related to what you were talking about with Kevin. Because we taught my oldest granddaughter an extraordinary nusach to the portion of the service on the holidays, in this case on Sukkot, when during Hallel, the lulav is waved to the section of Hallel that starts with the words Hodu. And the melody, which I learned from my father, which obviously he learned from his father, mimics the sound of the lulav waving through the air. And Bina has a great ear and listened with great intent for months and mastered this in an extraordinary way, and then electrified this whole congregation at B'nai Jeshurun, because nobody had ever heard a kid do something like that. But it was exactly what you were talking about. In other words, whether there is a way to bring traditional music back into the synagogue after our dear friend Debbie Friedman, you know, brought the guitar. So it's a good question. So this nusach that I'm going to use is my family's melody when you are actually at home at the table. It wouldn't be the melody used in the synagogue, but that's what you want me to do?
That's what I want you to do.
Okay. Vayehi erev vayehi boker yom hashishi, vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tziva'am, vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikom melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto, Kivo Shabbat mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim lasot. Savri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho b'yahava v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom techila lemikroei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kadshecha b'yahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Chaim.
Ooh, very good.
Oh, I got you to break a general practice, you know, very good.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamahotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Go
Shalom.
have some for
Shalom.
yourselves. Get them home safe. Be safe out there in all the darkness. And
Are we still on?
we're still on. We're still just chewing.
Well, Peter, in case you're watching, I'm one of your audience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Very good. All right, let me turn all this stuff off. Give me a
Okay.
second. Going down's a little bit trickier. Give me 2 seconds.